Okay, so we're here to talk about some of the basic GitHub structural intro documentation files and so on. And I thought the first helpful thing to do is probably to bring up a another example project that is sort of in the same ball field as what we are. This is Arduino core for the ESP32s. So as you guys know, when people first come in, this is what they hit, this is what they see. If you scroll down, you've got this README file. Now, our README file, on the other hand, is this. It's very short. I think that's a good introduction, and there's plenty of a good spot for that. So I would propose we move that in, but we need some additional pieces, and we'll talk about what we think we may need there. So I propose doing a table of contents there. We don't need development status. Does anybody disagree? Just shout me down. Or development planning right now, I think we need a section for documentation. I don't know if we need to talk about supported chips or not. This makes no sense to us. I'll say something about, so you got a bug or have an issue, and point to a little bit for that. And then, so you'd like to contribute, and that's going to point off to contributing. Meanwhile, our contributing file that we've got right now, I think is much too big. We've got a code of conduct in here, or just a pointer to that. I think that's fine. This question or problem, again, I think goes over in the README. Issues and bugs goes in the README. Feature requests can be linked from the README. The real thing for contributing is the submission guidelines, coding rules. We're going to throw away this commit message guidelines because that's a bunch of garbage that we don't need. And we'll have just this little thing down here at the bottom that says it will be updated to say that that's going to get pulled in with a pull request. Much like these guys, this is their contributions guide. It says, welcome, how to contribute. It points off to some generic instructions before contributing. Here's some things to think about. I think we liked some of these pieces. I can add that in there. The pull request process, I think we liked better what we had before. It's got a little bit more instruction to it. Pete's given me some good markup for that. And then the very last part here covers that contributor agreement. It'll just simply say, before it can be accepted, you'll need to sign. That's going to happen automatically as part of the pull request process. So to say again, I think README needs to be changed to have a table of contents. Let's see here. Get back over here to the right one. Table of contents. It will have not that. It will have documentation. It will have a little bit about issues, bugs, contributing. Probably a link to the FAQ as well. Anybody have a problem with any of that? Okay, we're going to do documentation. You guys have been working on some, so the documentation link in here will need to, it'll have some fillers for right now. I'll point to what we've got, but there may be additional stuff that we want to do. I don't know if we talk about libraries. We'll certainly have one here for installing. So when they see the README, they'll be able to go and see how to getting started installing FAQ. I don't know if we'll need to troubleshooting, possibly just add that later. The rest of these pieces are specific to this project, not something we need, I think. Sound okay?
Yeah.
All right. The issue bug report template, again, I'll just say something fairly brief in here about how to go file a issue bug report. We had some very hard-nosed wording about, oh, it's got to be absolutely reproducible and so on. Pete gave me some good edits for that to say, you know, don't be an ass. We want to encourage people, not scare them off. So I'll make those updates as well. And again, the contributing will be trimmed down because a lot of the pieces from that will actually be what we just talked about here. And this will concentrate on making contributions pull requests and so on. That sound okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, marching ahead. The other thing, let me see, make sure I get this. I got to make my notes. Move most README. Everybody's good with that. All right. The README table of contents, yes. Documentation, yes. Contributing issues, bugs, yes. That was all agreed to. All right. One thing I'll point out here that we could probably make good use of is first thing it says, need help or have a question, join the chat or open a new discussion. We have for free already, if you go up here and look at the top, discussions, which we have never turned on and enabled. So you've got the way to do that. Let me show you what it looks like. So if we come in over here and say open a discussion, here are discussions. They've got them. People can talk, they can ask questions. It's threaded. You've got categories and so on and so forth. I would propose that rather than sending people to Stack Exchange, to IO whatever, use what's already here. If we outgrow it or don't like it some other point in time, or nobody uses it, then fine. But I would propose that we would just say something very similar to this. Not using chat on Gitter, of course.
Does someone need to monitor it?
Yeah, so we would, hopefully people will be looking there. The only, the other options, of course, are Signal, but then people have to go and install that and so on. I think that's a little bit of a disincentive for people to ask questions. And what group would we want them in? You can do a Slack channel, but again, they have to install that. If we use this, yeah, somebody needs to be looking at it to see what's going on. But it's here, it's free. We don't have to install anything. You can do polls if that turns out to be useful or something like that at some point.
Does it have any mechanism for like emailing when there's new?
I haven't a clue. I only stumbled across this probably 40 minutes ago.
Well, yeah, nothing jumps out to suggest that it does.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. Although, well, I mean, we can open one here. Suggested answers is a Q&A, one participant, no labels. Yeah, I don't see anything here, and they wouldn't know who to tag anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So probably not. I can point to it and just set it up, and we'll put nothing in it. And if nothing ever appears in it, then it's not something we have to worry about. I'll look in every so often. If I see anything there, I'll let you guys know. Hey, people are using this. Grow it organically. Does that sound okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, very good. Discussion feature check mark. All right, next thing is. Let's see, we want to talk. Okay, so when we come in right now and you come in here and you say, I'd like to do a new issue. Oops, I'm too far in. You come in and say issues, then we get this page right here. And I've created a feature request, a bug report, and a support question. And these are templates that I'll show you in a moment. What I wanted to ask about right now is I've got a link here to the FAQ, which I did create a dummy FAQ. We've got one started, but we've got no questions to go in it yet. And this is, again, stolen from this other group here. They have these channels for asking information. Of course, I could say, hey, go see the discussions. That would be one. Is there anything else or other places external to us that we would like to point people who are interested in our project and may have questions? Particularly if it's something that might answer a question that they have and mean that they don't have to bug us by asking a support question. Or shall I just leave these as placeholders for right now and fill them in? I can trash them. Certainly erase these two, and we can add them later.
I think that's probably the best approach.
Okay, I'll trash the placeholders.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of are the some of the resources available via Renaissance/Dialog, the FPGA vendor.
Yeah, if you will send me, if you think you've got a curated list or a particular URL you think is good, if you'll send that to me, I'll put it here for one of these placeholders and just trash one of them.
Okay. I will research that. One thing that's been happening is that they have some of the links, the hyperlinks that used to go to dialogsemiconductor.com, blah blah blah, now end up either going 404 or going to someplace in the Renaissance world. And I will take that as an action item. Got that.
Okay.
So I would avoid having links to external documentation from a multiplicity of locations, right? So if it's here under issues and it's in FAQ and it's under documentation and they're not all consistent, and
then I got a multiple maintenance nightmare. Okay.
yeah. So if it's under the FAQ, where can I find more documentation?
Okay, I can put it under the FAQ then and not put them here and just send people to the FAQ. Does that
okay?
seem okay?
And I will still, I'll still.
Yeah, but I still need,
look
I
up a
still need
link.
that to go in the FAQ. All right.
Okay.
All right. So trashing the placeholders. Pete's getting good URLs for FAQ. All right. Thank you so much. Now we can look at these particular things, feature requests. And again, I think I got some comments in the pull request for this, but I wanted to show, make sure Paul and Dawn especially saw what this looked like. So if you want to have a feature request, there's a space here to put in a pull request ID if there is one, reference any issues, give us a summary, basic example, what the feature has, what the drawbacks, unresolved questions. And I think Pete had some input for that as well, if I remember correctly, and I'm happy to incorporate that. Something's on your mind, Pete. Go ahead.
Well, the summary where it says provide a brief explanation of the feature enhancement, it might go a little bit farther than that, and say, I mean, what we want to ferret out is as much architectural description as possible, right? In other words, tell us, what.
Well, why don't I say
user...
summary and then details? So they give you a brief summary and then say, give us as many details as you can.
Okay, well, right. I was actually driving at more like the flavors of details that we would really like to see in terms of functional specs. What will the user see with this thing? And what I'm trying to drive at is how the users will perceive the feature, as well as the nitty-gritty of like, oh, it's using this algorithm and blah blah blah. But in other words, try to have them describe the, as I said, the architecture as well as implementation details.
Okay, and I think I have some comments for that in the actually in the issue that you may have dropped in there. So we could look at that briefly here. Support question. This was the not support bug report. That's not it. I don't spot it. Maybe it's closed. I probably closed it. Yeah, enhance feature issue template. So yeah, you gave me some input here. Several items don't understand inflammation, PR, and so on. Right, and yeah. So
Yeah, I
you
mean this
gave
is
me this stuff.
yeah. I mean this kind of gets to
Well,
because,
who do you want to
sorry.
architect the solution? Do you want the
No.
person that's doing the request, or do you want
I-
the developer?
I just want what I want is the feature described in functional terms as well as the typical nitty gritty. You know, we're making it faster, or but anyway, yeah. I mean, that could certainly be a like a second round process to get that information.
We can certainly do more with that. Let's look at bug request here. So what I've got is a few things. Hey, look in these places. And again, these are placeholders, so I will point to FAQ and so on. And again, from you guys, Pete, Nick, Paul, which FPGAs, what's the device description, hardware configuration. You gave me some input for that. Again, I stole this from another group, so you know a lot of these things may not make sense. Flash frequency, PS RAM, is that important? I don't know. Nick,
No,
tell us.
definitely not. And
Yeah.
the flash frequency, no. Upload speed, not relevant. Just scroll up. I mean, the other way. Sorry. Oh, the well, the operating system is. Yeah.
So we've got, you know, Quark is purple, white, so on and so forth. Or drag and drop me a file, a picture. I don't know if this is important. But do you see anything here that's particularly objectionable besides the ones that you named?
Well, the IDE name,
That's
think
probably
is not
the
is not
software that we're
relevant.
using, isn't it? Well, don't we need to talk about the
It's a constant.
configure? Okay.
It's a constant. I mean,
Oh, okay.
Unless somebody else sees a range of, I mean, currently.
No, you're just supporting one set of tools, so that
we're
doesn't
really
matter.
absolutely focused on the expressive toolchain, and the one above that, the ESP32 version. Instead of saying version, maybe, well, is it version or is it? Let's see.
Well, I've got one right here.
I'm not sure what the right nomenclature for that is, but I mean, version doesn't sound right. It's more like the chipset and or module name, right?
Sure.
So the
flavor and
yeah, well, flavor. Yeah,
So
ESP32. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
In the installation script, I believe the is it target device?
Yeah.
Look.
ESP32.
Okay.
Target device. That sounds good. And you could say where it says what ESP32 are you running, in parentheses you could say something like original comma, like what are they called, C3 comma S2, etc., or just enumerate like two of them so that they have an idea of what you really mean. And then you could also, in addition to the target device, let's see.
Yeah, I'll put an example in here, like we've got up here in these.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
That'll say, original C3 S2, and whatever other wording you guys tell me. And again, we can tweak this to death going forward.
So
the Wikipedia page calls them variants, if that's any help.
Oh yeah, that sounds good. ESP32 variant.
That's excellent. Thank you. And then I'll check the Wikipedia article and Wikipedia to put some examples in there.
Yeah, we currently, correct me if I'm wrong, but we currently only support 2 flavors. Let me double check that. Maybe
Okay.
3.
I'm gonna. Oh, can you do that very quickly? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I can get there pretty fast here.
Flash.
Yeah, so we only do 3 flavors: ESP32, ESP32C3, and ESP32S2.
Okay. I will put those in.
And also the ESP32 is in a module called WRROM. WROOM. I don't know what on earth that means, but and I'm not sure that's significant. Yeah,
Okay.
I think just the variant name.
So I'm killing flash frequency. What about PSRAM? Is that important if somebody's
Definitely
doing?
not. No,
Okay. Upload speed is not. Description will leave.
Right. Definitely not.
Sketch we don't need.
No. Because and
Okay. And we don't do
yeah.
these debug messages. I'll leave in the other steps to reproduce.
Oh, I like that. I hadn't heard of guru meditation in a long time. Back traces, yeah, that's funny. Okay, so in the area of debug messages, there's an alternative installer in the pipes that Carl has written, and on the one hand, I mean, he's got debug support. On the other hand,
provide a debug message or error message if available. How about that?
Yeah, and I was going to say the other area. I mean, the only really 2 areas are the install process and then running aardvark. Although actually, I take that back. There can be error messages coming out when you're running the the ESP30 running Ant with IDF.py monitor, and so yeah, I think that's quite useful.
All right, I will put that in there. Marching along. Support questions. In general, I'm saying, hey, we reserve the right to change how we offer support in case we want to stop doing them this way someday. Review the resources below. Then, if you still have a question, go ahead and ask. And again, I'm going to point. I think I'll just point them to the FAQ discussions. Cut off the rest of this stuff. I point them to the README, and they'll have to. You can't. It won't go. If you do that, it won't actually go operative until you check that as well. So they have to at least claim that they looked around before they asked a support question. That seem okay? And it's just big and vague and general.
Do we want any way for them to? Well, I guess. Sorry, I started to say something stupid, which was, I mean, this is the like the mechanism that we're expecting for communication, and presumably when they do. Okay, so this is part of the issue submission, and so right, so then it becomes kind of a back and forth mechanism where people can respond, and then okay.
It's just like a issue ticket, right?
Yeah, it seems sufficient. Yeah.
The only thing that'll be different is it'll automatically have a label on it called support question.
Right.
So it'll look like these others, but instead of enhancement, it'll say support question. All right, and let's see. That was the 3 types that I've got in there. Am I missing some other basic type of place that people need to open issues? How about us? Are we going to just do blank ones because you can still open a blank issue? This what I've been doing because I'm not really doing those other things.
Right. I mean,
I refuse to admit I'm doing feature requests.
yeah.
All right, we'll just tell folks that, you know, for the internal guys, feel free to do this if you want, or do we want to make one that everybody should use if it is?
Well, I honestly, I think that the way you've got it set with the get started buttons, we might find it useful to use that
Okay.
template.
Which one would you use for the next thing that you're going to fix? Probably not that.
We usually want either the first or the second one. Sure.
Okay.
And
Paul, does that give you a headache?
Does what give me a headache?
Saying, hey, from now on, as you go to make changes to things, when you open issues, use one of these. If it's a feature or a bug, you're fixing a bug or you're adding a feature.
I'll have to be trained to do that, I guess. I use Signal, I guess. You know, alpha test or whatever.
Right, and the catch is right now that you know, it's elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, so. but it's reasonable for where we're at now. And you know, we've been doing this kind of you know, people gathering things up and then shoveling them into an issue, and eventually, I mean, the goal is to have changes to the repositories tied to these issues, so there's kind of a trail of cookie crumbs to help us understand, you know, where the changes have come from. On the other hand, where we've been the last many months, you know, we've just recently started using the GitHub features versus, I mean, I have been, you know, pushing directly to the repository and just starting to play around with pull requests and so on.
Okay.
And you know, it's reasonable that we'll gradually get experience with GitHub to the extent that we really need to. You know, for the time being, if Paul wants to use Signal, then you know, we can funnel that into the repo as needed.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Contributions guide. So we talked about that. That's going to get. I'm going to use some pieces of this. What else did I want to say anything about? Table of contents. Yeah. Covered all that. The other things we have, of course, is the code of conduct, which you have got some updates for me for, and sent those to Signal, I think, so I can pull those from there, and I will update that. And as I said, we had some discussion in here about that, and I think we covered all that material. We have images of some updates from here that I can integrate, and the contributor agreement. You liked the shorter contributor agreement. Paul, did you ever get a chance to look at the contributor agreement? It's like an 8-paragraph one and a much smaller one.
No, I did not.
Okay. It's a bunch of legalese. Basically, the idea for anybody that doesn't know is to make it just basically says, dear contributor, you are agreeing to grant us a free and irrevocable license to use the material that you're contributing. If you're an employee, your employer has given you permission to do that and won't be asserting any rights later. If you're a patent troll, you're out of luck. Don't drop any proprietary stuff in here and then come back later and try to blackmail us or something like that. It's just basically says we can use and distribute what you give us. And when you do a pull request, if you have not signed that before, it will actually direct you over to a page where you read it, and then you supply your GitHub credentials a second time as an affirmative signing action. And then when you look at the pull requests, look here, for example, check is passed. The committer has signed the CLA. So there's a check that actually runs as part of the pull request, and you can't put the pull request in unless you've done that. Now, one other thing, now I remember what it is. So if we look at, let's look at their code. Huge discussion on Signal today and yesterday about this. So these are the commit messages. That's the first line of the commit message. And if you click on any of those, you'll go see what files were changed and see the diffs and so on.
What causes that link?
Why
does the one
automatically?
I'm sorry?
This link happens automatically. This link over here, which is a link over to an issue, is being caused because they put # issue number. You see the pop up?
Yep. Right. I was.
Now we were going to say issue 7127. What I wanted to ask and was hoping there would be more people here is, can we just say #? Does anybody really care? Why do we have to say so many letters? We know it's an issue number. And I'm not even sure if it does it. Are we sure if it works if you say issue 1234? Does it produce a link to?
No, the GitHub documentation says # number gives you the hyperlink.
I think that's what we ought to do. Personal opinion.
And I personally agree strongly that # number we will all learn to recognize what that means and save on typing.
How about this? Next question is, do you guys have a big opinion on whether that should be at the beginning of the commit message or, as these people put at the end? Occasionally, if your first line is really long,
it gets truncated.
It might get truncated.
Yeah, so I would vote for the beginning. I don't, but as we can see, they're doing the opposite here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's, and I think we can do it at the beginning. What do you think, Paul?
That comes from the commit message, right?
That's right. So that's literally the commit message right there. It's the first line before the new line is put up there, and then the rest of it is the body.
And it does include the paren #7200. That's that whole line is the commit message.
That's right. People are typing that in. And now we don't have to use a parenthesis. We could say #7200 space update platform IO build scripts. New line. And then whatever else we want to say.
I vote for that.
All right. I'll put it in. If anybody has a heartache about it, I have learned they will be quite happy to let us know.
One thing, just look up at libraries. I'm just wondering how this, I don't know their system, but this could be potentially confusing if we do it without the parentheses. Do you see Rainmaker #152 parentheses #7171? Yeah.
And the reason why is this is the commit that with this ticket that fixed the issue described by that ticket.
Okay, and so I'm just wondering if we do away with parentheses, is this just like a really unusual set of 2 pounds and numbers in one title
No, for this one particular, it would say pound 7171 fixed, pound 152. That the work done on that ticket fixed the work that was screwed up when they did that ticket.
Okay, and so would it be confusing without the parentheses? That was my only. I just happened to notice that, and so I'm asking that question as to myself as well as to the group, since we're considering leaving the parentheses off.
But moving it to the front.
But we're considering putting the issue, the pound sign number for the issue right at the beginning, so it's unambiguous.
Okay.
That the first thing is the issue number, and then it would be possible that the commit message would say fixed, blah blah blah, other pound number.
Right. Now you got to watch too. If you say in Git, you say fixed or fixes number 152, it will close issue ticket 152.
Are you saying GitHub does that automatically
for you?
GitHub
does that automatically for you. Yep.
What a great
because it's just used. It's used very, very frequently. So if somebody opened a problem with this ticket and your pull request has a commit that fixes it, well, by God, they're going to take your word for it and close it as fixed. Just mention that in case you
Heaven forbid that we would have an issue that requires multiple fix messages.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. By definition, that should be 2 issues, I guess, if that happens.
So the other thing I guess we could ask is, I had some confusion about pull requests and branches. I think we wanted to say we wanted to have outside contributors, people who don't have write access to our repository will be forced to, because they'll have no choice. They can't push straight to the repo like I have done and like you have done and Paul's possibly doing. They will in fact have to fork, clone, create a branch. When they create a branch and then you make a pull request, let's see, back out. I want to look at this pull request. Oh, I've kept it open in another window over here. You see the pull request has got a number, and then it has got the name of your branch. And so Ron made a branch called Ron's -templates branch, and it automatically turned it into pull request number 25, Ron's templates branch. So
what is the meaning of the pound 39? Uh-oh.
Do not know. Maybe, no, do not know. Let's look at there's only one pull request that's open. Let's look at these 8 pull requests and see how they look. So I like, so that is a link then to your issue ticket. Thank you, honey. And that's the pull request. Huh. Yeah, I don't know.
If you look at those numbers, you go back.
Are they going up?
Yeah.
They're monotonically increasing. So that's probably then.
So it's the issue number.
Pull request number. I think that's the pull request number.
Pull request number. Yep.
Yeah. So that was the second pull request, 24, 26, 27, 30. Because you're talking about issue 29. That's ticket number 29, issue ticket 29. But the pull request was the 41st pull request. So
somebody didn't put any label next to issue 29. Wonder how that ended up blank like that. I did it with issue 25. Oh, there's 2 for issue 25.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know any better.
That's okay. And we'll
the idea of doing multiple pull requests per issue seemed reasonable at the time, but now it doesn't.
Right. Let me ask another question or two, because we're actually running ahead of time. When I look down in here in doc, so I put this FAQ in, and just to show you guys how silly it is. It'll grow, come back, check often, topic 1, 2, and it's things like, how do I report issues? Try yelling really loud. What computer do you need? A fast one, preferably blue in color. Right. So it's just a placeholder, some dumb things, but again, we'll point to that, and that's here in this doc folder. We've got these user manuals here. I'm wondering if we want to is there a difference between
user doc? Those are mostly worthless. Those
okay.
In fact, well, if you click on that, I'm not sure it actually renders.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I mean, I can open that in a new window over here.
So if you open it in the browser window, no, right? See, it shows you the raw HTML, which is completely worthless. Yeah, this is a bit of a problem. The format. So the other file.
The right way to do that. There is. So you see this stuff right here. There are 2 files. This is. Hang on. Let's see. The contributing is not a markdown file. It's actually a template
rich text.
This is what gets pulled into that. So this is actually over on docs, and it's got this stuff here, which it maps to. Whoops, click the wrong thing. This down here, table of contents tree. Anyhow, so there are other ways of doing that. So it's not permanently useless. We can make it useful in some way or other if we want to. Just let me know if you want to work on that. What I was really getting to is there's a README down here that looks like it was from the other repo. Is this useful? Is this just confusing? Should Ron just pretend he never opened the file? Make it even bigger.
I don't know that that's very useful.
Okay. You gave me a comment. I'm going to pull this sort of thing over into the coding standards section about the pretty printer.
Yeah, but I view that as redundant.
And Otter still, I think if I go down into doc, I get the README here with league documentation, and that contains all of that.
Right, and that is also well, I mean that some of that documentation is useful. But it is, as you said, it's kind of parked in a funny place.
I won't mess with it unless somebody asks me to, but I wanted to point out that it was here because as I was looking around.
Well, yeah, I think eventually we need to kind of organize it and tie it up to a, from a consistent route. But the basic idea.
In other projects, I will often see developer doc and user doc, and they sort of divide them up for people, who are going to be developing and contributing code and needs to know about the code. And then the user doc for people who are installing and using, so that's 2 different audiences, and they need different sorts of information. So I'm just tossing it out there as a thought. I don't know how this team over here does that. Go back to code. So they have a docs. Yeah, they don't have much anything in here.
Yeah, our documentation is definitely here, there, and yonder right now.
Okay.
It's the contrib directory, subdirectory is docs from outside versus
Okay.
docs that we've generated. So underneath contrib is a wealth of information about, for example, the FPGAs, using the Go configure, various things like that. So AI Thinker is the maker of the ESP32 module that we've been using, the C3 module. Dialogue is so that's the specific module that we've been using on the purple boards. I don't know that you've actually seen one of these purple boards that we made there, that have the very, very small ESP32 module in them. But then underneath dialogue is a boatload of
data sheets
links.
and so on.
Yeah, exactly. CAD, I think, is some of the what is that underneath there?
That's a LBR.
Oh yeah, that is a, believe it or not, that's a
Eagle library. Yep.
PCB library for the
yeah. I gave up on Eagle. It wouldn't do the free version wouldn't do all I needed, so I moved over to KiCad. Okay. I'll make sure too, when I'm working on the contribution license, to make sure that we say it's not only software but also design specs, schematics, etc.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've actually noticed the license file actually.
Yeah,
has
I'm
two
heading
licenses
there
in it.
now.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, very good.
Yeah.
And
So
I don't know whether this is appropriate or inappropriate to do it this way.
yeah, no, that's fine. If we made it as a .md file, then it would format a little nicer, but it doesn't really matter. So yeah, you've got two in here, right? One for,
Yeah, the hardware is Creative Commons, Universal, and the software is MIT.
Okay. And what I'll say in there too is there was another, let me look at this contributions. Where's the license agreement? Contributor agreement. Because I wanted to see, does that go anywhere? It doesn't go anywhere. How did I see their license agreement? Oh, I pretended I was contributing something. That's what I did. I started a pull request. Anyhow, it says basically the license that we include in our project, you are agreeing to grant that same license to us, and that we can grant that license for your contribution to others. So they're trying to pull in, and I'm wondering if that, I'm no lawyer, unfortunately. I'm wondering if that is a smart way of including this, right? To tell people, hey, when you are making a contribution, these are the rights that we are going to use when we distribute your stuff. And you're agreeing that we have these same rights from you for your contribution.
Yeah. I'm always
I work for IBM. I don't like the lawyers either, man.
Well, no, I was just going to say, I have a basic, well, as I understand it, I mean, this MIT license is what's called a permissive, it's extremely permissive. So it doesn't, tell you, you must do this, you can't do that kind of stuff. The only must is as it says there, that it has to be included. The big question in my mind is what happens when someone contributes something that is somehow covered by a less permissive license, and I confess I don't have a clue what that means.
So that's what we would be saying, I think, is here's the license agreement that you're giving us. By signing this and providing this contribution, this is a license that we're getting from you. It's the same as the license that's in here.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and your employer is okay with it. If you're whatever, if there's any patent stuff, you've given that to us, and so on. I'll find that wording. I'll run it by you guys. That's all I have. As I said, I can go and make these updates offline. I wanted to ask those questions and get some sort of understanding and agreement on the structure before I got into nitty-gritty editing files and then have somebody say, we don't even need that. So I think all the pieces that I had touched, we've covered.
Okay.
You guys have any comments or concerns? Other things that I've missed? Clearly, we need more docs, and we'll treat that as another thing.
So this is actually, I don't know if this is the appropriate group to bring this up in, but I was still a little confused on where we landed with if people are wanting to contribute, do they still need to fork their own repository, create the branch, etc.? And I thought there was some back and forth that said, well, actually, we don't have to do that. We can just create a branch in the existing repository, the main repository. And so where did we get there?
No, actually,
They
that
won't
was a
be able
mistake.
to do that. Yeah,
that was a mistake. If one of us gave that impression, that was a mistake.
Let me show you what we're talking
your own
about.
repository, and
the branch stuff is a side effect of.
So I'll show you an example right now. We go to config YML.
Okay.
And I can come in here and I can actually right online start editing this file. Pop right in here and start changing things. When I change it, I've got two options. I can commit directly to the main branch. There is no pull request. There's nothing but the commit.
Yes.
Or I can choose the second option, create a branch for the commit and start a pull request.
Yes.
The reason I have this second option is because I have write permissions to this repository. So there are 8 people in the world that have this radio button right now, and nobody else does.
I see.
And they won't have that one either. So they can't do
right. They definitely will not.
They can't even come in here and do what I've done because they won't have that option. So the only thing they can do is fork the repository so that they've got their own, like I've got over here. I did that same thing. I've got a Frugal Guy Quercus, and then I used this to clone it down onto my machine, and then made a branch. I've got these 4 branches here.
Okay, and so maybe I recall that Rob was involved in part of this. So technically, people can do this. Don't have to fork the repository, but that is not what we want people. That's not what we want even the people who have edit rights to the repository essentially to do. We want everybody to fork their own repository. And
so I think the question was, and I'm sorry, I just stepped all over you. That was very impolite. I did not mean to do that. I just get excited. It's this. This was the question. Those of us that have it, should we allow anybody to do that? Or should we force everybody to do this? At least. maybe fork their own repository and play in their own sandbox. But the 8 maintainers at least be required to create a new branch and a pull request. The advantage of doing a pull request is that we can require that somebody review it. So you can have a separation of duties. I can write stuff, but I can't put my own evil crap in or my own just really crappy crap in. Pete's got to, or Paul or somebody's got to review it and agree to it. That's why it's called proposed changes. If I do this, there's no proposing anything. It just it goes right in.
Well, yeah, I think there will probably always be circumstances where we are compelled to apply a change, like especially if there's some kind of severe misinformation or something involved. And the changes don't affect the product, right? In other words,
README updates.
Yeah,
like
if I find something spelled wrong in one of the documentations, you shouldn't have to go through a full pull request if you're the documentation's guru.
Okay, and this is something that we can spell out policy-wise, because as far as technical controls are, unless we flip a switch, we're going to have both these options here. Now, there's a switch we can flip so that you can't have that option any longer, but it sounds like we don't want to be that hard-nosed about it. The next question.
Yeah, well, I proposed that the branch be oriented towards code changes.
Creating a new branch if you're doing code changes.
Okay. But now that's going to create a branch inside Quarkus.
That's correct.
Right.
And so you are doing a merge into the Quarkus main branch from that via the pull request process.
Correct.
And to distinguish it from the other scenario where you've cloned, you're defining a new branch in your clone and then merging that.
Yeah, there's no distinction. There actually isn't a distinction, except for where the pull request came from, right? I mean, you can look and see, was this one done in Quarkus or was it done in somebody's private repo?
Yeah, that's interesting.
And so that's exactly what I'm wondering. So,
right,
am I doing the wrong thing by doing this radio button versus actually I really should be forking my own repository and et cetera, et cetera?
I'm doing it the long way because that's how outsiders will have to do it. And I'm trying to write the instructions for the outsiders. And so I have to understand it pretty well. So that's why I had done it that way. You notice here, their default is your username -patch- whatever.
A counter?
The next number is, yeah, it's just a counter.
Interesting.
For patches. And because again, their assumption is that once you do a merge, the branch will be deleted, and it offers to let you delete the branch because the way Git thinks of it, the commit is the history, not the branch. You can always build another branch from the commits if you needed to, I believe.
Well,
that may not be true.
The end of the branch, all right? I mean, the result of the most recent commit of the branch is what ends up. That's the state that's put into main.
Right. So this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was pounding on this really hard, but I think I was being overly religious.
I mean, I think all the changes are in the pull request. And if you make additional changes to the branch after you do the pull request, they're not reflected in the pull request.
You can
Definitely
make
not. That wasn't. Yeah, but
you can
sorry,
make
go
them
ahead.
with a force lease git push, and that will update your pull request. So that's what I'm going to do. So that's what I'm going to do, right? You've in my pull request, you've got all these suggestions for updates, and what I will do is I will update them on my machine, do commits, do a push, and when there's an option on that push that will push it all the way to update the pull request.